Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Heavily Contested Podcast, the podcast where
the Raiders lost again, bro.
Hey,
We lost. There's 2 in a row.
lost more than that too, to be honest. But
Oh.
it's kind of bad for Raider fans right now at the moment. There's a lot more than just a loss hanging over their heads at the moment. It's gonna be interesting to see how
It's
you
gonna
guys
be very
recover,
interesting to see what happens
how you guys recover from this one. But
in the near future.
well, we were kind of already on the topic, but let's go into it. Week 5 of the NFL season was an eventful one, surprisingly, with actually considerably some games that could be considered game of the year potential.
Game of the year.
There's 2 out there that stand out to me. We're only going to be going over a few games. We're going to focus more on the bigger games and, kind of questions from that. So, just one that we wanted to start off with. The Rams went into Seattle to start Thursday Night Football and won 26-17. But I think the bigger thing there is Russell Wilson broke his finger. It was out of place, and he will be out for at least 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So I got to ask you, is this it for Seattle?
Oh yeah, it's 100% it for Seattle. You guys got saved because you guys were gonna be last in the division, but now, you guys definitely got a shot. Now you could be 3rd place for sure. Maybe we could creep up into that 2nd place spot. But the Seahawks, who's their backup quarterback?
Geno Smith coming back
from the Jets. He's not gonna be able to do it. So
No.
it's over.
And here's the one thing, again, I think this will finally... Don't be surprised if all of a sudden just how the Seattle plays now that Wilson's gone, if they perform bad, then we start to see that this team just overall isn't that good. And then maybe Pete Carroll starts getting put on the hot seat a little bit.
Yeah,
Because
I expect Chris Carson to do really well because I don't think they want to pass the ball that much.
Yeah, they're going to rely on that run game. So Alex Collins, Chris Carson, those are guys to look for on fantasy football. On the other hand, though, I just have to say the Rams offensively have been a little out of sync.
What's up with Matthew Stafford, bro?
I don't know, man.
You said that was your MVP.
Well, here's the thing. He passed for 365 yards and a touchdown, but he made he's made some dumb interceptions this year. One in the Cardinals game, and then just the one in the goal line where it felt like he was throwing it away, but he threw it right at the defender. It was odd. But either way, the Rams got the win. You can't ask for anything more, really. Robert Woods finally got back in rhythm after there's discussion about that. 150 yards receiving. Again, Travis doesn't think this Rams team doesn't have great receivers. I do think these guys are very solid receivers. I think Cooper Kupp has the potential to be a great receiver with the way he's looked so far.
I just feel
100%.
like Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp are both wide receiver 2s.
I could see Cooper Kupp moving up to that wide receiver 1 spot, and I see Robert Woods being a viable receiver 2. And let's see how the Rams get more throughout the season if they start to get more in rhythm there. But either way, the Rams get the win, and Seattle now moves to 2-3, and things are looking bad. But a game that turned out to be much better than either of us have anticipated was the Packers going into Cincinnati and just getting into a fiasco over there, and I think it was 4 missed kicks right there.
Oh my gosh, I do remember that. At the very end of the game, They needed to get the dub. Both kickers were like, nah, you know what? I ain't got y'all today. I'm going to sit this one out. I've been drinking beers all weekend, and, I don't really want to kick the ball today.
Just something. I don't know if that's the exact story, but...
I don't know. I heard it from the grapevine, man. That's what
I don't know if that's the exact story, but it was definitely a weird day, especially with a veteran like Mason Crosby, who just...
Yeah, I wouldn't expect that out of him.
I wouldn't expect it out of him to miss 3 field goals. It just seemed like once he missed that first one, it kind of got in his head for the last 2. But they get the win. Mason Crosby hits that last field goal, and the Packers get out with the win. Biggest thing I have from this game, Davante Adams, 206 yards receiving and a touchdown. He accumulated for 206 yards of Aaron Rodgers' 344 yards passing.
Mm-hmm. That's about right, Davante. That's what I kind of expect out of him on the regular.
100%. And I think he solidified. There was a little bit of controversy, but I think for sure he solidified his spot as the best receiver in the league. Would you argue?
Okay, now this is the thing. I do feel like he's the best If you need some points, give it to Devontae Adams. If you need a first down, give it to Devontae Adams.
Okay.
But his system, he's everything for the Packers. When he's not playing good, you could see they don't really win that often. Aaron Jones had to score, 5 touchdowns? How much did he score? Well, that one game where he went really crazy.
He had 4 touchdowns. Couple couple rushing.
He was doing a lot, and that's not going to happen that often. So if Devontae don't play that well, the Packers are pretty trash.
But
I'm not going to lie.
Here's the one thing. So I think what this proves is one thing. First of all, Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, that connection is...
They have the best connection.
They have the best connection. The thing I also want to state is that the Packers, receiving-wise, have no one else besides Devontae Adams.
That's why I don't feel like he's...
Because when their second option is Randall Cobb...
And MVS...
Randall Cobb's been a great receiver over this time. It's just that now he's gotten up there in age.
Yeah.
And then MVS, who also is injured, but it's, we don't really consider Marquez Valdez-Scantling a top receiver or anything of that sort, right?
It's the same thing with Debo. Because Debo is a good receiver, right?
But see, okay, so I get what you're trying to say. You're trying to say that he's not a top 10 or he's not the best receiver in the league because of the fact that they over-rely on him.
Yeah, it's just...
But, again, me personally, I don't see that as a knack. I see that... And the fact that teams know that he's they're going to go to him and he still succeeds. Yeah. That right there tells me, because there's been so many plays where in that game where he was double covered and you see him beat that double coverage. Mm-hmm. That big post route that Aaron Rodgers had to. There's just, I think
receivers is very tricky because there's different kinds of receivers.
Of course.
D-Hop is not the same as Devontae Adams.
No.
He's more of a go get it.
But
he's not as open.
I think Devontae Adams has a little more range than DeAndre Hopkins when it comes to the overall thing. Route running, and then, speed, run after the catch.
Yeah.
And he is a guy who could still go get it in many situations. Yeah. Not as good as DeAndre Hopkins, of course. And you could argue that DeAndre Hopkins does have the best hands in the NFL, which most would say was true. But still, I think Devontae Adams as a full collective receiver does more.
Yeah, I think it's very debatable now, though, because D-Hop has not shown up this year.
Yes.
But he can show up, and when he does, he's not going to put up those numbers, though. He's not going to put up 206 yards, but he is going to take over the game.
He is going to take over the game. Also to mention, Aaron Rodgers, since that first horrible game against New Orleans, he only had 2 interceptions since then and 9 passing touchdowns to go with it. So Aaron Rodgers is also back in rhythm. Just an interesting game in Cincinnati. And also, I got to comment on the Bengals. Jamar Chase is the real deal. Jamar Chase is he's the top candidate right now for Offensive Player of the Year. It's not even close. Jamar Chase is Offensive Rookie of the Year.
I thought you were going to say Offensive Player of the Year.
No, Offensive Rookie of the Year. He's the front runner right now, Jamar Chase. And also... Well, Jamar Chase had 100.
Joe Burrow didn't look that bad.
No, Jamar Chase had 159 yards receiving and a touchdown, which is crazy to do. But Joe Burrow didn't look horrible. He did have 1 bad interception in overtime that ended up not costing them in the end because the Packers kicker missed the field goal anyways. But I'm actually impressed with just overall how Cincinnati played against Green Bay.
He's not bad. I feel like they should have got a better O-line, but he had good protection, though.
He had solid protection. And the thing is, too, they played they played up to the opponent's level a little bit. Green Bay, who's seen as, a higher team. The Bengals going into that game 3-1 at home, they played competitive.
Yeah,
they surprised me a little bit. I thought they were gonna I thought it was gonna be a little bit back down to reality.
Yeah, because one question I gotta ask you, Joe. Name me 2 players on the Bengals defense. You're going to struggle here, aren't you? Can you name me 2 players?
I know there's safety. I think it's...
yeah.
Oh, Bates.
Jesse Bates. Besides that, it's going to be really hard to think of somebody.
It's hard. I mean, they got a Woozy. I remember hearing his name.
We're from San Jose, so that's why you know that.
Representing Chidobe.
But if Chidobe wasn't from San Jose, you would not know who he was.
I would not know who he is.
So
again, I don't think it's a great roster that there's people that stand out. They lost a lot of that the core players that made that team. Yeah. But they're playing good. They're playing competitive. So I have to give them credit as well. And they're 3-1 going into this game. Now they're 3-2, but they have an easy schedule. They have much easier. So like, don't be surprised. I'm at this point now where I guess I wouldn't be surprised if the Bengals sneak into the playoffs because of their schedule, and because they're more than they're looking right now at the moment.
I was scared that you were gonna say they become a contender or something.
No, not even close. But they could compete for that playoff spot.
The Bengals could be a promising team in the future.
In the future, 100% in the future. Another game. Bears versus Raiders. The Raiders host Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears. That offense that has been struggling a lot, especially with that horrible O-line and that Raiders supposedly elite defensive line, and they get beat by. I'm gonna let you take it, but they got beat by the Bears at home.
So guys,
20-9.
Obviously, there's a lot of.
It was bad.
There's a lot of talk around the Raiders.
Really bad.
There's a lot of talk. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if somebody's been sniffing crack or what's going on. But Derek Carr came out and had another terrible game. Came out, didn't score anything for a long time. Our offense, our defense is better than it was the past 5 years. But Derek Carr, you still got to score points. You can't just... No. They held them pretty well, too. 20 points? We're in the NFL here, man.
Well, here's the thing, though. I think 20 points is still too much for...
It is for the Bears, but...
And the way the Bears got shut down by that Cleveland D-line, and you want to compare the Raiders D-line to Cleveland's D-line a little bit. You had guys like Max Crosby and Yannick Ngakoue. You think they would get to Fields a little more.
They were trying to disrupt Justin Fields the best they could. Like, they were getting a lot of penalties in the beginning of the game because they're doing their best to try to kill Justin Fields.
Although I gotta give Justin Fields credit, he looks much more poised now since his first start.
I already said he's gonna be the best quarterback from this draft, 100%. I don't think that's much of a debate at all. But he showed a lot of heart in this game. His receivers aren't really that special. One thing that I noticed this past season, Allen Robinson is not it.
He's not he's not looking like the same guy he was last year a little bit. Him and Fields, their connection's a little off right now.
Yeah, he's not coming through right now. But maybe it changes.
It changes. And the thing is, too, is what I think is because Allen Robinson's not performing so well, I wouldn't be surprised because right now he's still, at the moment, holds a lot of trade value. And they have him on a franchise tag.
Yeah.
So don't be surprised if he gets a midseason trade here, a team that's desperate for a wide receiver one, and then they feel like they can work with because right now the only way Chicago gets anything back right now is if they trade him, and this is the time right now where you'd have the most trade value still with the way he's looking. So don't be surprised because they still got guys like Darnell Mooney who's kind of taking Justin Fields number one target spot a little bit.
Yeah, I honestly we should not have lost to the Bears. Our next upcoming games are all pretty easy games. And this was one of the games that was supposed to be an easy dub. But at the same time, Khalil Mack did do a little something in this game. He had some pressures. Mm-hmm. He did have a sack or two. And always have to remember, this is a revenge game for him. For the Bears, Khalil Mack hasn't been the same player that he was when he was on the Raiders.
No, he was not, no.
So now I feel like every time he plays against the Raiders, he remembers that, and he finally decides to show up. So you can't just say it's Khalil Mack, though. We also have O-line struggles.
Yes.
Derek Carr is inconsistent. As I said, he played worse than Justin Fields. And
he threw himself out of the MVP conversation.
Yeah, just from that game alone. He has to do a lot to even come back.
And with the way some players looked, which we'll get into, it's definitely looking rough for Carr to get into that.
We'll get into the John Gruden stuff a little later.
Yes, don't worry, we will address the John Gruden stuff.
But. Yeah, but Derek, you can't have another bad game, or we're really going to be looking to put Marcus Mariota in.
Again, it's for Carr. There's so many moments where he looks scared and timid in the pocket, and this was one of those games again. Where it was the same situation. He is a solid passer of the football, but I haven't seen any of that magic from 2016 when his confidence was just at an all-time high. And, I I don't think he played a horrible game against the Chargers last week.
It's not good enough.
Just not good enough to win, of course. A lot of mistakes. But this one was just bad. You know, he didn't look calm in the pocket. He looked a little disrupted. And, he wasn't making the throws he needed to make. But also, in the receiver standpoint, I saw Braylon Edwards drop a couple passes, too. It's not like his...
he dropped a wide open pass, too.
His receiving core wasn't helping him out either. So,
yeah. And on top of that, I just have to say this one more time. Derek Carr is probably the most inconsistent quarterback I've ever seen.
Surprising to hear you say that, seeing how much you would talk
I love him, though, because he could play better. He's played better than Lamar Jackson. He played better than Patrick Mahomes. I don't think we've played Tom Brady, but or maybe did we play him?
Yeah, you guys.
You
guys got beat in Mexico.
Yeah,
by Tom Brady.
He can play better than a lot of quarterbacks in this league, but as I said,
on occasion,
he plays worse than Justin Fields, who's a rookie quarterback, and that can't happen. And so I have pure confidence in the fact that Derek Carr will never win a Super Bowl.
I also have confidence that
it don't matter what team he goes to. Even if he's not on the Raiders, he'll never win a Super Bowl.
I think it's also time to maybe start looking at the Raiders as another, unfortunately, as another fluke in the start of the season again. We might have been misled again for the third year in a row now at the moment. But we'll see. The Raiders have a big game coming up, but let's just say this, if they lose this game, they break even again. So after starting 3-0, red hot, looking like one of the top AFC teams, they might just break even right now. And like Kansas City even catch right back up to them. Let's go into the game of the week, huh? The Browns went into Los Angeles to take on the Chargers, which turned out to be, I think, the game of the year. The game of the year. Undoubtedly the game of the year. The final score was 47-42. It was an offensive shootout. Baker Mayfield, like we said, we needed to see a little more from him like we did in that first game. Stepped up big time. 23 of 32 passing, 305 yards, and 2 touchdowns. No interceptions. But he wasn't the story of this game.
Whose story is this game?
The story of this game was... who is someone who has now inserted himself as one of the top MVP candidates here. Justin Herbert, 26 of 43 passing. It's a solid percentage. 398 yards passing, 4 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown. In a shootout, Justin Herbert led the charge and helped the Chargers sneak out of LA sneak out of LA, but Cleveland had them dead to rights. There was a point there in the third quarter where Cleveland was up 27-13, but this Chargers team, like most great teams, stayed resilient. Justin Herbert led the charge, led a comeback, and the Chargers end up winning against Cleveland 47-42.
Yeah, the Chargers are
legit.
They're a real team. So you have to be scared of the Chargers anytime they up on their schedule.
One of the best teams in the NFC right now with the way they're looking.
The AFC, but
AFC.
Yeah.
Well, NFL too, to be honest.
Yeah, they're one of the best teams in the NFL. They're definitely in my top 5.
Oh, 100%.
Right. But do you have a question for me? Because I have a couple questions.
Well, okay, so I have a question then. The question is Justin Herbert, do you truly believe he is a top 3 MVP candidate?
Oh, a top 3 MVP candidate? Yeah, he is. He's not 1 or 2, but he might be 3.
See, okay, so this is where we differ. Crazy that I'm about to say this. Kyler Murray has dropped from 1 down to 3 in my MVP listing.
So who's...
Justin Herbert has snuck into 2, and I will get to who number 1 is.
Okay.
I'll get to who number 1 is.
But I can respect that.
But Justin Herbert, I want to mention, kind of reasoning behind my MVP candidacy for Justin Herbert. The last 3 games, right? He started off the season. They went into Washington. It was 1 touchdown to 1 interception for Justin Herbert. It was a solid game. And then he went against Dallas, and it was 1 touchdown to 2 interceptions. And I already knew right then. I said people were going to start talking about him having a sophomore slump. And I was like, that's not going to happen. This guy, Justin Herbert, is too poised. He's too good of a passer.
He's a great
And he's
player,
actually a good athlete, too. He's too good of a player to have a slump.
He's like 6'6", and he's as fast as a receiver.
And I'll say this, too. There's only 2 quarterbacks in the league that I see the ball just zip off the arm
Aaron Rodgers?
No, actually. Not at this point in his career. Aaron Rodgers early in his career, definitely. But right now, at this point in time, there's only two guys that I see that have just a beautiful, effortless zip on the ball. It's Justin Herbert and Josh Allen.
Josh Allen.
Two quarterbacks that I think just...
The league is in good hands for the quarterbacks, man.
But I just want to mention the stat-wise, Justin Herbert, 4 touchdowns against Kansas City, no interceptions. 3 touchdowns against the Raiders, no interceptions. And then now against Cleveland, 4 touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown, no interceptions. And the passing yardage has all been over 250 passing yards.
Yeah. I have 2 takeaways that I have from that game. First of all, Justin Herbert looks great, right?
Yeah.
But Mike Williams,
oh,
is he the number 1 receiver now?
No. The reason why I say that is because I do think Keenan Allen's taken a lot of attention away from Mike.
But is he the number 1? He's the number 1
but
target,
I'll say,
though.
here's what I will say. Mike Williams, I think, is the best number 2 receiver option in the league.
Oh, yeah.
Would you argue with that?
The Bucks.
But I think, who's your number 1 receiver option on the Bucks? Right now, it looks like Mike Evans. It looks like Mike Evans.
Chris Godwin
and Antonio Brown. Cool. But right now, I haven't seen, and surprisingly, Antonio Brown, I haven't seen that.
He's shown glimpses, but he hasn't been as good as Mike Williams.
No number 2 receiver has been as good as Mike Williams this season. I think we're finally seeing the Mike Williams I expected to see from the start because of how he was at Clemson and his connection with Deshaun Watson, how they were. And if you watched the national championship game, you saw how good Mike Williams was in that one to beat Alabama.
And I have one more. This is from the Browns.
Go ahead.
It saddens me to say, but I think Odell's over. I think it's over. Because what did he do in this game? I think this is his 3rd game, and I haven't seen anything at all. 0.
One thing I'm going to say, I'm not ready to give up 100% on Odell Beckham. I do think their connection needs some work because you could see the connection between Baker and many other receivers compared to him and Odell. Yeah, it's much different.
He's been there longer too.
He hasn't been longer than Njoku or Jarvis Landry in any case. Jarvis didn't play in this game, of course, but like guys like Donovan Peoples-Jones all of a sudden had 90 yards receiving. It's weird. It's a weird situation. I don't think it's over because before the ACL injury, I felt like I finally saw the Browns using Beckham the right way. If you remember the Cowboys game last year.
Yeah. He went off like 2 games.
Beckham, well, I think he was really gaining rhythm with the Cleveland game, and then he had the Cowboys game, and then he had the Colts game after where he had a solid receiving day too. Then he tears his ACL. So right when he was getting in rhythm with the Browns offense and their scheme, it got all mixed. It just got thrown off.
It just saddens.
Of course. But me personally, I think it's not completely over. I think it's still... I feel like we got to give it time. Beckham did come off an ACL injury. Let's see a little more into the coming weeks how Beckham tries to merge in. I think Kevin Stefanski, over these next few weeks too, will try to make an effort of getting Beckham the ball, trying to get it in your playmakers' hands. But I'm not ready to give up on it. One thing I am going to say, though, is it's weird to say this, but the Browns moved up in my rankings despite the loss.
Yeah, because they showed they're like pretty even with the Chargers.
No, I liked. God, that rushing game is so good.
They might be the same equality to each other.
That rushing game with Nick Chubb, who rushed for 161 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Didn't even lead the team in touchdowns.
And then you had Kareem Hunt, who had 61 rushing yards on 12 carries and 2 rushing touchdowns. It's the best running back duo in the league. I love what I see there. Baker Mayfield, if he keeps his consistency, makes this Browns offense much more dangerous. Baker Mayfield
is very similar to Derek Carr. He's very similar.
I would say right now at this point, yes, but I say Baker has more upside than Carr.
Baker can be better, but they're like very similar.
Very similar. But if Baker finds more consistency than we say Carr has his career, if Baker finds consistency like that, I still think this Browns team could be one of the top AFC teams in the league. Also, David Njoku, their first-round pick as a tight end.
Finally stepped up.
Stepped up 149 yards receiving and a touchdown. A big play, a little post over the middle that he took to the house, which was a game changer. But the defenses were off for both teams, but I don't want to think too deep into that right now at the moment because I still think both of these defenses are solid. I just think what they did is they went against elite offenses.
Yeah, so you can't really fault either team for allowing the other side to score a lot of points.
It was just one of those games where both offenses were in rhythm, and we see that happen all the time with great defenses. All of a sudden, they're struggling against these offenses, but it's one of those games where
it was just a great game.
Both teams were just perfectly in rhythm, but the Browns look good again. I think that was one of their. Funny enough, I think that's one of their best outings, even though they lost.
Yeah.
I like what I see from the offense. Next game, 49ers versus Cardinals.
Guys, before Joe talks, this game was a whole bunch of nothing to me. Either side couldn't really do too much. It's a rivalry game, and they're kind of always iffy on that part. But this game was not exciting.
More of a defensive game here. First thing I want to say, Niners defense again, another great outing put to waste. Shout out to the Niners defense. Their pass rush. They had Kyler Murray rattled for 3 quarters until that 4th quarter when the defense finally got tired enough that Kyler Murray can actually engineer a drive here. For the most part, since that first touchdown drive that the Cardinals had at the beginning of the game, they were shut down completely, I felt like. They figured out that Cardinals offense. They were putting pressure on Kyler Murray, and DeAndre Hopkins was not doing much to that point. Wasn't doing much.
He decided I'm gonna take over the rest of this game.
And then he finished off on that last drive. The other thing I want to say, I was not upset at Trey Lance's performance.
He was solid.
I think one thing I have to say first of all, I'm tired of Shanahan. I'm tired of his play calling, because this week he found a way to still stay predictable, and with the quarterback run up the middle, he just continued to do that all game long. And not only that, it's not just the problem of variety. It's the problem of you have a franchise quarterback here who you're just throwing in every play to have a chance to get hurt. Trey Lance needs to learn to slide more. But Kyle Shanahan needs to put your franchise quarterback out of harm's danger.
Yeah.
More creative run plays, and you need to maybe less run plays for your quarterback and work more on that running.
You can't run your quarterback that many times.
You can't run your quarterback 16 times. And now we just found out Trey Lance does have a sprained left knee from this game.
So now Jimmy Garoppolo's back.
Well, we have a bye week. So let's see. I still think now, after seeing this performance, though,
I think you guys want to start Jimmy Garoppolo for some reason, so
I don't know why.
Actually,
at this point, I'd like to go with Trey Lance more, and I think as time continues, I think Trey Lance will get more comfortable in the NFL level. But we know Shanahan's not going to do that.
Yeah. The only thing that I would say sucks about this game, we knew the Niners were going to lose, honestly. If you guys win the next game, I would be a little surprised, but it could happen. But you guys have a tough schedule. The only game that you're probably guaranteed to win now, maybe, is the Seahawks.
Maybe.
But that's a maybe still because it's a rivalry game. So, we'll see. I said earlier, you guys were going to be last in the division.
Yeah.
But now you have a chance to be third. So we'll see what happens.
In the end, it doesn't matter if we're not in the playoffs. I have to say it again. Kyle Shanahan, I need to see better play calling from you. He's having these basic run plays. Quarterbacks runs up the middle. There was another play call where it was on 4th down. I've seen this happen with a lot of teams where they bring in the guy who's a slot receiver. He does it like he's a motion. Then he gets behind the center and does a QB sneak. I hate that play. I absolutely hate that play. You want to know why? Because when you make the defense have to stay disciplined and do their thing, when you have a guy on slot and you have the quarterback under center, the team still has to be prepared for a pass.
Yeah, but then
when you bring in your slot receiver, get him under center, and you can't even get that snap off fast enough.
Everybody knows it's a run.
You're bringing the defense into pinch. You're telling them what you're going to do. You leave no variety. You don't keep the corners. You don't keep the linebackers disciplined at all. So I don't see any variety from Shanahan's play calling whatsoever. It's all short and immediate routes. It's deep. It's not even no deep passes, and it's just dangerous throws over the middle. It's the same as last week. I need to see more from Shanahan, or I honestly think Niner fans should start calling for Shanahan to be fired. Seriously, what has he done? As a Niners head coach, besides that one Super Bowl year What has he done for
Fired?
this team? Fired. If Kyle Shanahan is not going to be the great offensive mind, no, like seriously, if Kyle Shanahan is not going to be the great offensive mind that we were led to believe, right?
Yeah.
If he's not going to be making the great calls, he's not going to be creating a great offense. That's the funny thing.
He's not even scoring points. And
No,
you
we
guys
have
are
an
choking
offensive.
it,
We have an
man.
offensive head coach, and the best part of our team is the defense.
Man, like, come on, man. You're
Okay.
supposed to be the Falcons.
Okay,
You know, man.
but still, in the end, I'm not seeing the same Shanahan that I've seen over the past few years. And credit to the defense, they're playing great. But we're putting a great defense to waste right now. I don't see it from Shanahan at the moment. I really don't. I need to see better because if this type of coaching stays consistent throughout the entire season, hell yeah, I think we should fucking move on. God, I couldn't help myself.
It's all right, man.
Hell yeah, I think we should consider moving on from him. We should.
Honestly, Kyle Shanahan, I don't think he's a great coach, but I think he's an average.
We might have to start considering Shanahan overhyped, really. Because besides that 1 year, it has not been great for the Niners. It has been all
Also,
losing seasons and embarrassing losing seasons, in fact.
I feel like the quarterback situation is also something that has to be addressed.
It has to be. And the thing is, too, also, I got to comment on that. John Lynch, I know, takes Shanahan's thoughts into consideration all the time. That's also another reason why I don't think I like Shanahan too much. I think Shanahan's decision-making when it comes to personnel sometimes can be very bad. You know?
But, I still
Here's
think the
like-
Niners have the roster to be able to compete with anybody, so you guys can be good.
It
just gotta lock into
it hinges on Shanahan. It does.
Yeah.
Because in the end, we do have injuries. Of course, we do. But it's not as severe as last year. And seeing the team that we were when healthy, if we lose a couple pieces here and there, we're still competing with these teams. These are games that are winnable games. We should not be losing these games. This falls on the coaching. This falls on Shanahan. But I'm gonna move on from that point. A big game where there's trouble over there in Kansas City right now is Buffalo went into Kansas City and dominated them 38-20.
Guys, I have to come out and say this. I need the Raiders to play good because we can beat the Chiefs twice now. We can beat them twice. From this game, what I see...
Here's the one thing I'm going to say, just to kind of rain on your parade a little bit. The Raiders didn't look too great themselves, so I don't think
that's why I'm saying I need the Raiders to get it together because this is the time
the AFC West is
for us to take over the AFC West. If we do better than the Chargers.
Unfortunately, here's the one thing I'm going to say too is I think the team has already taken the reins of the West, and that is the Chargers.
Anyways,
I think the Chargers have already taken full reins of the West.
What I'm saying is now that the Chiefs aren't the 100% dominators, this is the time where it could be the Raiders and the Chargers, two up-and-coming teams that could take over the AFC West.
100%.
Because the Chiefs are struggling, man.
Yeah.
Their defense was atrocious, though we've already addressed that.
It's horrible.
But now that you can't even outscore teams 38-20 points, that's not the Chiefs, man. That's not the Chiefs.
That's not the Chiefs. But the thing is, too, is if you want to know point totals that the Chiefs have allowed this season, they've allowed 29 points, 36 points, 30 points, 30 points, and 38 points.
And 30 points was to the Eagles?
30 points was to the Eagles.
You allowed the Eagles to score 30 points.
This defense is not the same defense it was.
It's over.
Because here's the thing. I was willing to say, even in the Super Bowl team, that they had an underrated defense with Tyrann Mathieu and Chris Jones and Frank Clark. I thought it was a defense that sure didn't look too great, but when it counted, when it mattered most, they would shut down. They can't do this anymore.
No more.
Not anymore. And now I gotta ask you, are the Bills the best team in the NFL?
Yeah, I have them as the number one team in the NFL.
Cool, because I agree.
I
agree.
I mean, honestly, Bills versus Cardinals. Do they play this year?
No.
That would be a great game. But honestly, the Bills
they're not. They're the best team right now. There's no team playing
that secondary is gonna come to play.
No, you're. I have to say you're 100% right because Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde just look great.
There's nothing you can do when you have
and then
every
you have
DB out there.
Tre'Davious White, who's shutting them down. I do believe Jordan Poyer right now is second in the league in interceptions from that safety spot.
All right.
And then they got a pick 6 against Mahomes. They got a pick in the goal line against Mahomes. This defense is secondary.
The thing is, they don't have a good D line.
It's not a great D line, but it's a solid one.
Their D line is like nothing really. It's an average D line.
Here's the one thing though: the linebacker core. Then you got Edmonds,
Tremaine Edmonds,
Edmonds at the linebacker spot.
Yeah.
Tre'Davious White at the corner spot.
And 2 of the best safeties in the league.
And 2 of the best, one of the best safety duos in the league, and Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde. And you could say it is the best with Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde. This team is. Don't let that first game fool you against Pittsburgh. They are the best team in the NFL now, with the way they played in the last 4 games.
Yeah, you can't really deny
let's just go over it. Since the Bills have lost 23-16 to the Steelers at home, they have now won 35-0, 43-21, 40-0, and 38-20. They have scored over 30 in all of their games besides that week 1.
They scored 38 on a team that went to the Super Bowl last year.
And now, I got to mention this. We'll get to who we think wins, but the Bills are now going to be playing the worst secondary in one of the worst secondaries in the NFL, in the Tennessee Titans on Monday Night Football.
Yep.
The Tennessee Titans, who have allowed some of the most passing yards per game.
Goes, but yeah.
So, it's looking up for the Bills right now. They're looking much more of a complete team this year. Let's move on.
The last game of the week.
I can't wait to ask you this question, but the Colts took the lead on the Ravens early on in the Monday Night Football. They led 23-3. It was looking bad.
I guess that the Colts were going.
Oh, my apologies. They were winning. They were winning 22-3.
Yeah, I had a guess that the Colts were going to win this game, and Lamar was going to have one of his struggle games, which he did in the beginning.
Yeah.
But as I said, Dro.
As I agree with you.
As I said.
As I agree with you.
Lamar Jackson is the most valuable player in the NFL.
Yes.
If he's not on the team.
As I agree, 100%.
You're going to lose.
Yes.
So, 300 yards passing, right?
No. 442 yards.
442
yards passing.
440 yards passing. I know he had some rushing.
4 touchdowns.
4 touchdowns.
And he was the team's leading rusher at 62 yards rushing as well.
Thank you. And how great did Marquise Brown look?
Oh,
who's
yes.
Nothing. No. Marquise Brown is just speed. That's all he is.
Well, I think I got to give credit to Marquise Brown ever since that drop game he had against the Lions. Now, the last 2 games, he has looked very good. And again, we know Hollywood Brown's potential is very much like Antonio Brown. Just great route runner, great speed, to take the top off the defense. Yeah. And
is he a good receiver though?
Not well.
From
the past moments, we can't say it.
He's not a good receiver.
But right now, he's looking like it
because of Lamar Jackson.
It's thanks to Lamar. Yeah, it's definitely. And Mark Andrews too. Also, Mark Andrews credit 147 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns for Mark Andrews. We know him though. We know he's a top tight end in the NFL.
He's his number 1 receiver.
Definitely Marquise Brown's looking like a top receiver this year, thanks a lot to Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, and a lot of people used to say that Lamar Jackson can't throw. He's mainly just a runner.
Yeah.
What happened to that?
Yeah, what happened to that? That has no platform anymore. What happened to Mr. RB1?
Yeah, I'm not seeing
because
that.
Here's what I want to say too. Lamar Jackson, 5th in the league in passing yards now, and 7th in rushing. If there's a definition, I 100% agree. You said it last week. If there's a definition of a most valuable player, someone who the team needs to help them win a game,
it's Lamar
Jackson. It's Lamar Jackson.
If you don't play the game, they haven't won a game yet.
And you can argue this Ravens team is worse than the past 2 years of Ravens teams. Why? Because their injuries.
Their roster is atrocious roster.
It's not atrocious.
Hold on. Now that they have on the field.
With the injuries, let's just say this. Marcus Peters being out of corner spot is severely missed.
No running backs.
The running back core is severely missed with no Gus Edwards or J.K. Dobbins.
No good wide receiver 1.
Bateman's out. Sammy Watkins even went out in that game.
It's no wide receiver 1, bro.
Right? And here's the thing. It's just The O-line has problems too. They had injuries too.
O-line isn't good.
The O-line had injuries too. Lamar Jackson is doing it all. He's the only reason this Ravens team is 4-1. He should 100% be the MVP frontrunner. 100%. Without a doubt in my mind. Without a doubt in my mind. If I list out the MVPs right now, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, Kyler Murray.
I wonder how Lamar Jackson's body feels like after games.
Just sore. He's doing it all for this team, man.
How do you feel when you go to sleep every day?
He's doing it all. He's doing it all. But okay, I think we made our point.
Lamar Jackson, man.
Lamar Jackson, MVP frontrunner. Saying that right now. Also, I want to say about the Colts.
Sorry, the Colts, I don't really care. I'm not gonna lie.
I know, but the Colts, man, I still think they're rough one for the Colts, who could have had a chance to get their.
They look like the Falcons right there, man.
Very Falconish this whole season, really. One thing I gotta say though, I think Carson Wentz is back.
He's solid.
402 yards passing, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, it was cute. You know. Did you win?
It doesn't matter. He played great. He played and put his. Actually, here's the thing. The Colts could have won that game. He put the Colts in position to win that game.
But they scored all their points in the first half. What happened in the second?
Well, they scored in the third with the Pittman. Michael Pittman looks good.
Michael Pittman solid. What happened after that?
Rodrigo Blankenship missed the game-winning field goal. This Colts team, man, is just finding ways to lose. And like you said, they're looking like the Falcons of last year. They're going into the end of the game with leads, and they can't close out these games.
Yeah, so that was the end of the games.
Those were the games for Week 5.
But right after the game,